parked like an entitled jerk, so I ruined his yoga session. My city put in charging ports for electric cars about 2 years ago. I drive a hybrid and my apartment building won't let me install a charger, so I depend on these public spots. When they first set them up, the signs just said electric vehicles only. The idea was simple. If someone with a gas car parks there, nobody can use the charger because the cord doesn't reach far enough. Most people got it. Park there, plug in, charge your car. Easy. And if someone blocked the spot with a regular car, you could call it in, and they'd get towed. But then the Tesla owners figured out a loophole. Their cars were electric, so technically they could park there. Except they wouldn't plug in. They'd just use it like their own reserved parking spot because they thought driving an electric car made them special. Every single time it was a Tesla. Every time. One Tuesday morning, I was heading to the charging station near the gym because my app showed one spot open. I was sitting at the red light about half a block away when I saw this black Tesla pull into the last available spot. The guy got out, didn't even look at the charger, and walked straight toward the yoga studio on the corner. My battery was at 12%. I needed that spot. I drove up and parked across the street just to confirm what I already knew. His car wasn't plugged in. The charging cable was just hanging there on the post. He took the spot just because he could. There was nothing I could do. He had an electric car. The sign said electric vehicles only. Calling the cops would do nothing because technically he wasn't breaking any rule. I sat there for a minute trying to figure out my options. Then I looked at the yoga studio and checked the time. 9:15. Morning classes usually ran about an hour. I decided to wait. I grabbed a coffee from the shop next door and sat in my car. 20 minutes went by. I figured his class was deep enough into the session that everyone would be in their flow or whatever yoga people call it. That's when I pulled out my phone and called the studio. A woman answered on the second ring. Sunrise Yoga? This is Vanessa. Hey, I'm outside and there's a tow truck hooking up a black Tesla with plates JKR 4492. I think someone in your class drives it. They're about to tow it for blocking the charging station. You might want to let them know right now before it's gone. She gasped. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Hold on. I heard her drop the phone and yell something. About 30 seconds later, she came back. Thank you. We're getting him now. I hung up and watched the door. Maybe 2 minutes later, this guy in athletic shorts and a tank top came sprinting out of the studio. He was barefoot. He ran around the corner to where his Tesla was parked and just stood there looking at it. No tow truck, no ticket, nothing. His car was completely fine. He pulled out his phone and started filming his car from every angle, then the charging station, then up and down the street. I watched him type something fast. Then he walked straight back toward my car. My coffee was still in my hand. He was coming right at me. I could see his face clearly now. Red, jaw clenched. He knocked on my window hard enough that I felt it in my chest. I rolled it down halfway. Can I help you? You called my wife, he said. His voice was shaking. You told her someone damaged my car. She's 8 months pregnant, and you made her think something happened to me. My stomach dropped. I looked past him at the yoga studio and saw a woman standing in the doorway. She had her hand on her belly. She was crying. I didn't call anyone's wife, I said. I called the studio. That's my wife. She teaches there. You made her panic in the middle of her class. He held up his phone. I have you on camera sitting here the whole time. I have timestamps. What were you doing? Why are you watching me? I didn't say anything. He leaned closer to the window. I'm filing a police report. Harassment. False emergency. Whatever they'll charge you with. Unless you tell me right now what this was about. The pregnant woman started walking toward us. She moved slowly, one hand on her stomach and the other clutching her phone. Her face was blotchy and red. When she got close enough, I could see her name tag pinned to her yoga top. Vanessa. The woman I'd spoken to on the phone. Garrett, what's happening? Her voice was hoarse from crying. Why would someone say the car was being towed? He turned to her but kept his body angled toward my window. I'm finding out right now. I just wanted to charge my car, I said. My voice came out defensive. You parked in the electric vehicle charging spot and didn't plug in. I needed that spot. So you made up a story about my car being towed? Garrett's face went from red to purple. You caused a medical emergency over a parking spot? I didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't know she was your wife. You didn't need to know anything except that lying about emergencies is illegal. He pulled his phone up and started typing. I'm calling the cops right now. Vanessa put her hand on his arm. Garrett, wait. She was looking at me through the window. Her eyes were puffy but sharp. You're the one with the blue Prius. I've seen you here before trying to charge. I nodded. And my husband took the spot without plugging in. Vanessa, that doesn't matter, Garrett said. He lied about an emergency. You were crying so hard you could barely breathe. The baby's heart rate spiked. Do you understand what stress like that can do? I understand that you parked in a charging spot and didn't charge your car. Her voice was quiet but firm. How many times have I asked you to stop doing that? Garrett looked at her like she'd slapped him. Are you seriously taking his side right now? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm saying, you do this all the time and I've told you it's wrong. These spots are for people who need to charge, not for convenient parking. I drive an electric car. The sign says electric vehicles. The sign says that because the chargers are here, it's implied that you're supposed to use them. Nothing is implied. It's written right there on the sign. I watched them argue and felt the situation sliding sideways. A couple of people had stopped on the sidewalk to watch. One guy had his phone out recording. I recognized him from the coffee shop. "Listen," I said. "I shouldn't have lied about the tow truck. That was wrong. But your husband has been taking charging spots for weeks without actually charging. Today I really needed it, and he took the last one." Garrett turned back to me. "So that gives you the right to lie? To cause a panic?" My wife thought I was hurt. She thought our car was damaged. "Do you know how dangerous stress is for a pregnant woman?" "I know. I'm sorry. I didn't think it through." "You didn't think at all." He held up his phone again. "I'm calling the police. Vanessa, get back inside. You shouldn't be out here in your condition." "Garrett, just stop." Vanessa's voice cracked. "Can we please just go home? I need to sit down. Not until this is handled. He needs to face consequences. The consequence is that he feels like shit and apologized. I need to go home. Please." They stared at each other for a long moment. I could see Garrett's jaw working like he was physically chewing on his anger. Finally, he lowered his phone. "This isn't over," he said to me. "I have your license plate. I have video. If anything happens to my car or if I see you anywhere near my wife again, I'm pressing charges. Understand?" I nodded. He put his arm around Vanessa and they walked back toward the yoga studio. I sat there watching them, my coffee cold in my hand, feeling like the biggest asshole on the planet. The guy from the coffee shop was still recording. When Garrett and Vanessa disappeared inside, he walked over to my car. "That was wild," he said. "You really called in a fake tow? Can you delete that video? Are you kidding? This is going on TikTok. Entitled Tesla Owner versus Desperate Hybrid Driver. It's perfect. Please don't. That woman is pregnant. She doesn't need to be part of some viral video." He laughed. "Should have thought about that before you pulled your little prank." He walked away typing on his phone. I sat there for another minute, then drove to a different charging station 3 miles away. It took 20 minutes in traffic. My battery dropped to 8% before I got there. 2 spots were open. I plugged in and sat in my car while it charged, scrolling through my phone and feeling sick. Around noon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "This is Officer Chen with the city police. Am I speaking with the owner of a blue Prius? License plate 7, HGT 8889. My stomach dropped. "Yes. We received a complaint about an incident this morning at the Sunrise Yoga Studio. Are you aware of what I'm referring to?" I explained everything. The charging spot, the fake tow truck call, the pregnant wife. Officer Chen listened without interrupting. "So you admit you made a false emergency call?" "I didn't call 911. I just called the yoga studio. You reported a vehicle being towed when no vehicle was being towed. That's filing a false report. It's also harassment." I was frustrated about the charging spot. I understand that. But frustration doesn't justify lying about an emergency. Mr. Reeves wants to press charges. His wife was treated at the hospital this morning for stress-induced complications. They're monitoring her for preterm labor. The coffee I'd drunk earlier rose in my throat. "Is she okay?" "She's stable. But Mr. Reeves has medical documentation linking her condition to the stress you caused. That strengthens his case significantly." "I didn't mean for any of that to happen. Intent doesn't erase impact. I need you to come down to the station to give a formal statement. Can you be here by 3? I looked at my car's charging status. 42%. Not enough to get home and then to the police station. "Can I come at 4? I'm charging my car right now." There was a long pause. The irony of that statement isn't lost on me. 4 is fine. "Ask for me at the front desk." He hung up. I sat there watching the charging percentage tick up slowly. 1% every 3 minutes. My hands were shaking. I pulled up my bank account on my phone and looked at my balance. $1,200. If Garrett pressed charges and I needed a lawyer, that wouldn't cover much. At 3:45, I unplugged my car at 78% and drove to the police station. Officer Chen was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with tired eyes. He led me to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. "Tell me exactly what happened this morning." I went through it again. He took notes on a laptop. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Mr. Reeves showed me video of you sitting in your car watching his vehicle for over 20 minutes. He also has phone records showing you called the studio at 9:37. The studio confirmed they interrupted his class to tell him his car was being towed. His wife, who owns and teaches at the studio, had to be taken by ambulance to County General at 10:15. The attending physician noted that her blood pressure was dangerously elevated and she was having contractions. "I'm sorry. I really am. I just wanted him to know how frustrating it is when people take charging spots and don't use them." "So you decided to teach him a lesson." "I didn't think about his wife. I didn't think about any of this. That's the problem." Officer Chen closed his laptop. "Mr. Reeves wants you charged with filing a false report and harassment. The DA will make the final call on charges. For now, I'm writing this up as a complaint. You'll likely receive a court summons in the next few weeks. What happens if I'm charged? Depends on the charges. False report is usually a misdemeanor. Up to a year in jail, up to a $1,000 fine. Harassment could be a misdemeanor or felony depending on how they frame it. Given the medical emergency aspect, they might go harder." My mouth went dry. A year in jail? Worst case scenario? More likely you'd get probation? Community service? Fine. But it'll be on your record. Could affect employment, housing, all of that. Over a parking spot. Over lying about an emergency that put a pregnant woman in the hospital. He stood up. You're free to go. Don't contact Mr. Reeves or his wife. Don't go near that yoga studio. If you need to charge your car, use a different station. Understand? I nodded and left. On the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about Vanessa's face. The blotchy red skin, the hand on her belly, the way she'd defended me even after what I'd done. I got home around 6. My apartment felt too small and too quiet. I made dinner, threw half of it away, and spent the evening searching online for information about false report charges. Everything I read made it worse. Some states treated false emergency reports as serious crimes. People had served jail time. People had been sued in civil court. Around 9, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Vanessa Reeves. Can we talk? I stared at the screen. Officer Chen had specifically told me not to contact them, but she was contacting me. I called the number. She answered immediately. Thanks for calling back. I know you're probably not supposed to talk to us. Your husband said he was pressing charges. He is. But I wanted to talk to you separately. What you did was stupid and wrong. But Garrett isn't innocent here. He's been parking in charging spots for months without plugging in. I've told him to stop. We've fought about it. He thinks because he drives a Tesla, he's entitled to those spots even when he doesn't need to charge. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't think you should go to jail over a parking spot, even though what you did was really dumb. Is your baby okay? We're both okay. I had contractions, but they stopped. Blood pressure came back down. They kept me for observation and sent me home around 4. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't help much right now. Garrett is furious and he has every right to be. He thinks you deliberately targeted me. I didn't even know you existed. I believe you, but he doesn't. He's talking to a lawyer about a civil suit on top of the criminal charges. I closed my eyes. I can't afford a lawyer. That's kind of why I'm calling. I don't want this to destroy your life. What you did was wrong, but it wasn't evil. You were frustrated about something that's genuinely frustrating. Garrett's behavior is frustrating. The city's vague signage is frustrating. None of that excuse is lying. But I get it. What do you want me to do? I want you to write a formal apology letter. Not to me. To Garrett. Take full responsibility. Explain what you were thinking. Express genuine remorse. If he has that in writing, he might be willing to drop the charges. You think that would work? I don't know. But it's better than doing nothing. He's angry right now, and he's scared. When he saw me in that hospital bed with monitors everywhere, something in him snapped. He needs to hear from you that you understand the severity of what happened. I do understand. Then write it down. Send it to him. I'll try to talk him into reading it with an open mind. Why are you helping me? There was a long pause. Because I teach yoga. I spend my days helping people find balance and peace. And because my husband's parking behavior has been bothering me for a year. What you did was a symptom of a bigger problem. If we punish you without addressing that problem, nothing changes. I'll write the letter tonight. Good. Send it to this number. I spent 2 hours writing that letter. I went through 7 drafts. Each one felt either too defensive or too groveling. Finally, I settled on something straightforward. I explained my frustration with people using charging spots as regular parking. I took full responsibility for lying. I expressed genuine remorse for the medical emergency. I offered to pay any medical bills not covered by insurance. I promised never to do anything like it again. I sent it to Vanessa's number at 11:30. She didn't respond. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering if I just made everything worse. 3 days later, I got another call from Officer Chen. Mr. Reeves is willing to drop the criminal complaint on 2 conditions. First, you pay his wife's emergency room bills out of pocket. Second, you volunteer 50 hours at a community organization of his choosing. What organization? He's on the board of the city's Green Transportation Initiative. They're doing a project to improve electric vehicle charging infrastructure. He wants you to help with outreach and education. The irony was so thick I almost laughed. He wants me to help promote electric vehicles? He wants you to help fix the problem that caused this whole situation. Do you accept? Yes, absolutely. I'll send you the details. You'll need to complete the volunteer hours within 6 months. Miss any sessions and the complaint gets refiled. Understand? I understand. I got Vanessa's ER bill 2 weeks later, $4,200. My savings account had $1,200. I set up a payment plan with the hospital, $200 a month for 21 months. It would wipe out any ability to save, but it beat jail. The first volunteer session was on a Saturday morning at a community center downtown. I showed up at 8 and found Garrett sitting in the parking lot in his black Tesla. He got out when he saw me. "You're the last person I wanted to see today," he said. "But my wife thinks everyone deserves a second chance. So here we are. I appreciate the opportunity. This isn't an opportunity. It's a consequence. You're going to spend the next 6 months helping people understand how to use electric vehicle infrastructure properly. You're going to talk to Tesla owners who think they're special. You're going to talk to apartment buildings about installing chargers. You're going to do actual work to fix the problem you complained about. I will. And if I hear you complaining, if I hear you making excuses, if you miss even 1 session, I'm refiling those charges and adding the civil suit. Clear? Clear." He walked me inside. The community center smelled like old coffee and floor cleaner. About 15 people were sitting in folding chairs arranged in a circle. Garrett introduced me to the group leader, a woman named Patricia, who ran the Green Transportation Initiative. "This is our newest volunteer," Garrett said. "He's here because he made some poor choices regarding EV charging etiquette. I'll let him explain." Every eye in the room turned to me. I told them the whole story. Nobody laughed. Nobody looked sympathetic. When I finished, Patricia nodded slowly. "Well, you're certainly in the right place to learn. Today we're reviewing the city's plan to triple the number of charging stations over the next 2 years. We need volunteers to survey current usage patterns and identify high-need areas. You'll be working with Garrett." Of course I would be. We spent 4 hours that day driving around the city in his Tesla, documenting every charging station. He made notes on his tablet about how many spots were occupied, how many cars were actually plugged in, how many were blocked by non-electric vehicles. At every single station, at least one Tesla was parked without charging. "See?" I said at the third station. "It's not just your car, it's a pattern." "I know it's a pattern. That's why I'm on this board. We're working to change it." "So why do you do it?" He was quiet for a long time. We were sitting in his car at a charging station near the library. Finally, he said, "Because I can. Because the signs are unclear and nobody enforces them. Because on some level, I do think I'm special for driving an electric car. It's stupid. Vanessa tells me that all the time. But awareness and behavior are different things. So how do we change behavior? Better signage, clear rules, actual enforcement, and cultural shift. People need to understand that these spots aren't status symbols. They're infrastructure, like handicap parking or loading zones." We worked together every Saturday for the next month. The weirdest thing happened. We became something like friends. Not close friends, but people who could have coffee together and talk about things other than the incident. I learned that Garrett was a software engineer who'd bought his Tesla because he genuinely cared about the environment. He'd grown up in California during the drought years and watched his parents' lawn die. Environmental consciousness was wired into him, but so was a certain amount of tech bro entitlement that he was slowly unlearning. He learned that I worked 2 jobs to afford my apartment and my hybrid, that I'd chosen the car specifically for the gas mileage because I couldn't afford anything else, that my frustration that morning wasn't just about parking, it was about being nickel and dimed by a city that installed infrastructure I needed but didn't protect it from people who didn't. On the 6th Saturday, Vanessa showed up at the community center. She was huge now, probably a week or 2 from her due date. She brought homemade muffins for everyone. "I wanted to see what you two have been working on," she said. Patricia gave her a presentation on the survey data we'd collected. 42 charging stations in the city, average of 6 spots per station. During peak hours, 73% of spots were occupied, but only 51% of occupied spots had cars actually charging. The rest were just parked. "So basically half the infrastructure is being wasted," Vanessa said. "Correct," Patricia said. "And we have data showing that 48% of the non-charging vehicles are Teslas." Garrett looked uncomfortable. "That's going to make a great headline." "It should make a great headline," Vanessa said. "Tesla owners need to know they're part of the problem." "I'm part of the problem." "Yes, you are." They smiled at each other. I looked away, feeling like I was intruding on something private. The Green Transportation Initiative used our survey data to propose new regulations to the City Council. The new rules were simple. Charging spots would have 2-hour time limits. Cars had to be actively charging during that time. Violation would result in a $50 ticket. The council passed it unanimously. The day the new rules went into effect, I drove to the charging station near the yoga studio. All 3 spots were empty. I plugged in my car and went inside the coffee shop. While I was waiting for my order, Garrett walked in. "I figured you'd be here," he said. "First day of enforcement. Had to see it for yourself. The spots were empty. They're empty at most stations. People are actually following the rules. Who would have thought?" We sat at a table by the window where we could see my car charging. Garrett ordered some complicated espresso drink with oat milk. I had black coffee. "You've completed 32 of your 50 hours, he said. "Another 18 and you're done." Has been good, honestly. I've learned a lot. Like what? Like maybe I should have just talked to you instead of calling in a fake tow. Like most problems are communication problems. Very yoga of you. Vanessa would be proud. How is she? Ready for this baby to arrive. She keeps having false labor, gets my heart racing every time. I'm sorry again. For all of it. I know you are. And I'm sorry for parking like an asshole for a year. Vanessa's right. I was part of the problem. We sat there drinking coffee and watching cars pull into the charging station, plug in, and walk away. The system was working like it was supposed to. It felt like a small victory. 2 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning, I got a text from Garrett. "Baby's here. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Everyone's healthy." I sent back congratulations and thought that would be the end of it. But the next Saturday at the volunteer session, he showed up with photos on his phone. The baby was red and wrinkly and perfect. "We named him Derek," Garrett said, "after Vanessa's grandfather. He's beautiful. He screams like a banshee, but yeah, he's pretty great. Vanessa wanted me to invite you to meet him once we're settled at home. You don't have to do that. She insists. Says you're part of the story now. Might as well be part of the epilogue." I finished my 50 volunteer hours on a Saturday in early June. Patricia gave me a certificate at the end of the session. It felt ridiculous and meaningful at the same time. "You did good work here," she said. "Any interest in continuing as a regular volunteer?" "Maybe. Let me think about it." Garrett walked me out to my car. His Tesla was parked in a regular spot, not a charging spot. He saw me notice. "Batteries at 74%. I don't need to charge yet. Character growth. Something like that." He held out his hand. "No hard feelings?" I shook it. "No hard feelings. Vanessa wants you to come by next weekend. Saturday afternoon if you're free. Just for an hour. Meet Derek. Have some coffee. Pretend like none of this ever happened. I'll be there." I showed up the following Saturday with a gift card to a baby store because I had no idea what else to bring. Their house was a small bungalow in a neighborhood full of young families. Vanessa answered the door in sweatpants and a milk-stained t-shirt, looking exhausted and happy. "You made it," she said. "Come in. Ignore the mess. We're living in chaos right now." The house smelled like baby powder and coffee. Derek was asleep in a bassinet in the living room. I stood there looking at him. This tiny person who existed partly because of the worst decision I'd made in years. "He's perfect," I said. "He's a tyrant," Vanessa said. "But yeah, he's perfect. Want to hold him?" "I don't know how." "You'll learn." She picked him up and transferred him to my arms before I could protest. He was warm and impossibly light. He made a small noise and shifted but didn't wake up. Garrett came in from the kitchen with coffee. "Look at that. Natural. I'm terrified I'm going to drop him." "You're not going to drop him. Just support his head." We sat in their living room drinking coffee and talking about nothing important. Baby sleep schedules, the new charging regulations, Vanessa's plan to reopen her yoga classes in a month. The conversation was easy and normal, like we'd known each other for years instead of months. After an hour, I handed Derek back to Vanessa and stood to leave. "This was nice," I said. "Thank you for having me." "Thank you for coming," Vanessa said. "And for everything you did with the transportation initiative." Garrett says the new regulations are working really well. They are. Charging spots are actually available now. Garrett walked me to the door. "Hey, we're having a small thing here in a few weeks. Just family and close friends to celebrate Derek. You should come if you want." "I'm not family." "No, but you're part of the story. And Vanessa likes you. She doesn't like many people." "I'll think about it." I drove home thinking about how strange life is. 6 months ago, I'd been sitting in my car, angry and desperate, making the worst decision of the year. Now I was driving away from a baby celebration invite from the people I'd hurt. Redemption is weird and non-linear and doesn't look like anything you expect. I did go to their celebration. It was awkward at first. Garrett's parents looked at me like they knew the story. They probably did. But after an hour, the awkwardness faded and I was just another person eating cake and watching a baby sleep. I kept volunteering with the Green Transportation Initiative. Not every week, but once or twice a month. Patricia put me in charge of outreach to apartment buildings, trying to convince property managers to install charging stations. It was frustrating work. Most managers didn't want to spend the money, but a few said yes, and each installation felt like a small win. My car battery hasn't dropped below 20% since the new regulations passed. The charging spots are available when I need them. Tesla owners still take them sometimes, but now they actually plug in. The system works. I still see Garrett occasionally at volunteer sessions. We're friendly, but not friends. The kind of people who might grab coffee if we run into each other, but don't make plans. That feels right. Vanessa sent me a text last week. "Derek took his first steps today. Thought you'd want to know." I sent back a smiley face emoji and congratulations. Then I sat there looking at my phone, thinking about how one stupid morning spiraled into criminal charges, volunteer work, new city regulations, and somehow a connection to a family I'd accidentally traumatized. The parking spot incident cost me $4,000, 6 months of my Saturdays, and whatever remained of my confidence in my own judgment. But it also taught me that most people are more complicated than they seem in a moment of conflict. That redemption is possible if you're willing to do the work. That sometimes the worst thing you do becomes a weird catalyst for something better. I still drive my hybrid. I still charge at public stations. But now when I pull into a spot, I think about Garrett sprinting barefoot from the yoga studio. I think about Vanessa in the hospital with monitors strapped to her belly. I think about how close I came to destroying my life over 2 hours of charging time. Some lessons cost more than others. This one cost plenty, but I learned it. That has to count for something. Character count, 28,847. I need to continue the story to reach the required 85,000 plus letters. Let me expand with realistic developments and complications. Update 1 to 3 months later. 3 months after Derek's first steps, I got a call from Patricia. "We have a problem," she said. "The city's cutting funding for the Green Transportation Initiative. They're shutting down half the charging stations to save money. They can't do that. We just proved the system works. Budget shortfalls. New mayor has different priorities. We're trying to fight it, but we need community support. Can you come to the city council meeting next Tuesday?" I showed up at 7. The council chambers were packed with angry people. Garrett was already there, sitting in the second row with a folder full of documents. When he saw me, he waved me over. "Did Patricia tell you?" he asked. "She told me they're cutting stations." "How many exactly?" 16 of the 42. They're keeping the high-traffic ones downtown but eliminating everything in residential neighborhoods. including the one by the yoga studio. C. That's insane. Those are the ones people actually need. Tell that to the council. The meeting started at 7:30. For the first hour, we sat through presentations on street repairs, zoning changes, and permit applications. Finally, the transportation budget came up. The city manager, a tired-looking man in a cheap suit, explained the cuts. Due to decreased tax revenue and increased infrastructure costs, we're reducing funding for non-essential transportation programs. This includes the elimination of 16 electric vehicle charging stations. A woman in the front row stood up. How is electric vehicle infrastructure non-essential? We're in a climate crisis. We understand the concern, but we have to prioritize core services. Police, fire, emergency medical. The charging stations serve a small percentage of residents. Garrett stood up. I have data showing that usage of these stations has increased 47% since we implemented the new regulations. They're not serving a small percentage. They're serving a growing population of electric vehicle owners who are trying to reduce emissions. That's lovely data, but it doesn't change our budget reality. What if we found alternative funding? Garrett asked. Private partnerships, grants, community fundraising? The city manager looked annoyed. That would require a completely different proposal and approval process. We don't have time for that. The cuts take effect in 30 days. Patricia stood up from the back of the room. Then we'll submit a proposal in 30 days. But don't remove the stations until we've had a chance to present alternatives. The budget has already been approved. Then unapprove it, put it back on the agenda for next month. The council members looked at each other. One of them, an older woman with glasses, leaned forward. We can table the charging station cuts for 1 month while you develop an alternative funding proposal. But that's all you get. If you don't have a viable plan by the September meeting, the cuts proceed. Patricia nodded. We'll have a plan. After the meeting, a group of us stood in the parking lot making a plan. Garrett, Patricia, me, and about 8 other volunteers from the initiative. We needed to raise enough money to maintain the 16 stations for at least a year, plus cover operational costs. Patricia did math on her phone. We're looking at roughly $60,000. Installation is already done, so it's just maintenance, electricity, and administration. How do we raise $60,000 in a month? Someone asked. Grants, corporate sponsors, crowdfunding, private donations. We hit every angle. Garrett volunteered to handle corporate outreach. He worked in tech and had connections at companies that claimed to care about sustainability. Patricia took grants. I got stuck with crowdfunding, which meant setting up a campaign page and promoting it on social media. I'd never done anything like that before. I spent 3 days figuring out how to make a decent video explaining the situation. I filmed myself at different charging stations around the city, talking about why they mattered. It felt awkward and performative, but I posted it anyway. The campaign raised $200 in the first week, most of it from my aunt and a few co-workers. We needed $60,000. Garrett's corporate outreach wasn't going much better. Every company he contacted had budget concerns of their own. They'd send polite emails about how they appreciated the initiative but couldn't commit to funding at this time. Patricia applied to 14 different environmental grants. She heard back from 3, all rejections. 2 weeks before the deadline, we'd raised $8,000 total. It wasn't even close to enough. We're not going to make it, Patricia said at our volunteer meeting. She looked defeated. I don't know what else to try. What if we go directly to Tesla? Garrett asked. They benefit from this infrastructure. Their owners use it. Tesla doesn't fund local charging networks, someone said. They only invest in their own supercharger system. Then what about other electric vehicle manufacturers? Nissan, Chevy, Ford? They all make electric cars now. It's worth trying. Garrett drafted a proposal and sent it to every EV manufacturer he could find contact information for. Most didn't respond. Ford sent a generic rejection. Nissan said they'd consider it for next year's community investment budget. We were running out of time and options. Then Vanessa had an idea. She called me on a Thursday night. Derek was crying in the background. What if we get the yoga studio involved? She said. Not just my studio. All the yoga studios in the city. There are dozens. If each one promoted the campaign to their members, we'd reach thousands of people who care about environmental issues. Would they actually do that? I can ask. Yoga people tend to care about this stuff, and studio owners are always looking for ways to appear community-minded. She spent the next 3 days calling every yoga studio, Pilates place, and wellness center in the city. Most agreed to share the campaign on their social media and mention it during classes. A few offered to host special fundraising events. The campaign donations jumped from $8,000 to $19,000 in 4 days. It still wasn't enough, but it was movement. One of the wellness centers, a fancy place downtown with crystal healing and overpriced smoothies, offered to host a fundraising gala. Their owner was apparently married to someone wealthy who cared about electric cars. It'll be a whole thing, Vanessa explained. Silent auction, speakers, fancy food. They want to charge $100 per ticket and donate all proceeds to the campaign. Do you think people will actually pay $100 for that? Their regular clients spend $100 on a single massage. They'll come. The gala was scheduled for the Saturday before the city council meeting. We had 1 week to make it happen. Garrett and I got assigned to handle the silent auction. We needed to collect donated items worth bidding on. I spent 3 days calling local businesses, asking for donations. Most said no. A few offered gift certificates. One restaurant donated a dinner for 2. A bookstore donated a signed first edition of some wellness memoir. It wasn't exactly exciting auction material. Garrett had better luck. His tech connections came through with donated electronics. An iPad, noise-canceling headphones, a fancy smart home system. One of his colleagues donated 2 tickets to a sold-out concert. The night of the gala, I showed up in the only dress clothes I owned. A button-down shirt that was slightly too tight, and pants I'd worn to a funeral 2 years ago. The wellness center had been transformed. String lights everywhere. Tables with white tablecloths. A bar serving organic wine and craft cocktails. About 60 people showed up. Mostly women in expensive athletic wear. The kind of people who buy $20 green juice and think it makes them environmentally conscious. Patricia gave a speech about the importance of charging infrastructure. Garrett presented our survey data with professionally designed slides. Vanessa talked about community responsibility and thinking 7 generations ahead, which I think was a Native American philosophy she learned in yoga teacher training. The auction raised $11,000. Ticket sales brought in another $6,000. Combined with our crowdfunding total, we were at $36,000. Still $24,000 short with 3 days to go. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed doing math. How much could I personally contribute? My savings account had maybe $3,000 after paying off Vanessa's hospital bill. I could max out a credit card? That might get me another $2,000. $5,000 total. It wouldn't make a difference. On Monday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. Is this the person running the EV charging campaign? The voice was male, older, with a slight accent. Yes, who's this? My name is Henrik Larsson. I saw your video online. The one where you talked about depending on public charging because your apartment won't let you install your own charger. That's my situation, exactly. I live in a building that refuses to accommodate EV owners. It's incredibly frustrating. It is. That's why we're trying to save these stations. How much money are you short? About $24,000. I'll cover it. I thought I'd misheard. I'm sorry. What? I'll donate $24,000. Tell me where to send it. Sir, why would you do that? Because I'm a 72-year-old man who bought an electric car to reduce my carbon footprint, and my building treats me like I'm asking for something unreasonable when I request a charging station. Because I use these public chargers every week. Because I have money and this is a good use for it. Should I keep going? No, thank you. This is incredible. He sent the money that afternoon. Wire transfer? $24,000, pushing us to exactly $60,000, Patricia cried when I told her. Garrett sent me about 15 exclamation point emojis in a text. Vanessa called to ask if this was real or if I was pranking her. We presented our funding plan at the Tuesday City Council meeting. Patricia laid out exactly how the $60,000 would be spent. Maintenance contracts, electricity costs, insurance, administrative overhead. She had spreadsheets. She had timeline projections. She had letters of support from businesses and community organizations. The council voted unanimously to keep all 42 charging stations. After the meeting, our little group celebrated at a bar downtown. Patricia bought a round of drinks. Garrett gave a toast about community action and persistence. Someone suggested we make t-shirts. I sat there nursing a beer and thinking about Henrik Larsson, the 72-year-old man I'd never met who just donated $24,000 because of a video I made. Thinking about how close we'd come to failing. How many small pieces had to fall into place for this to work. You look contemplative, Vanessa said, sitting down next to me. Derek was strapped to her chest in some kind of elaborate carrier. Just processing everything. We did something good today. You should feel good. I do. It's just weird. 6 months ago, I was the guy who caused you to go to the hospital. Now I'm the guy helping save charging stations. People contain multitudes. You can be both guys. Is that a yoga thing? It's a human thing. Derek started fussing. Vanessa stood up and bounced slightly to settle him. We're heading out. Baby needs to sleep, but I'm proud of you. This campaign was your idea. No, it wasn't. I just made a video. You made the video that got Henrik Larsson to donate $24,000. That's not nothing. She left. I stayed for another hour, listening to people tell stories and make plans for the future of the initiative. Patricia wanted to expand to more stations. Garrett wanted to start working on residential building advocacy. Everyone had ideas about what came next. I drove home around midnight, taking the route that passed the charging station by the yoga studio. All 3 spots were full. All 3 cars were plugged in. The system was working. I parked in my apartment lot and sat in my car for a minute, watching my battery percentage on the dashboard. 43%. Enough to get to work tomorrow and back. Enough to get to the nearest charging station if I needed it. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Henrik Larsson. I hope the city council meeting went well. If you need anything else for this initiative, let me know. I saved his number and sent back a thank you message. Then I sat there thinking about what Vanessa said, about containing multitudes, about being both the person who makes a terrible mistake and the person who helps fix a community problem. Maybe that was growth, not becoming a different person, but becoming a more complete version of yourself. Acknowledging the stupid, angry guy who lied about a tow truck while also being the guy who showed up every Saturday for 6 months to do the work. I went inside and fell asleep immediately, more tired than I'd been in months. The good kind of tired that comes from actually accomplishing something. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 34 text messages. Something had gone very wrong. Update 2. The backlash. The first text was from Patricia. Call me immediately. The second was from Garrett. Check TikTok. We have a problem. I opened TikTok, which I barely used, and searched for the charging station campaign. The top video had been posted 6 hours ago and already had 400,000 views. It was the guy from the coffee shop, the one who'd filmed Garrett and Vanessa and me arguing 6 months ago. He posted his original video with a new caption, "Remember this guy who pranked a pregnant yoga teacher? Now he's the face of the EV charging campaign and nobody knows what he did." The video showed Garrett confronting me at my car window, showed Vanessa crying with her hand on her belly, showed me looking guilty and defensive. The comments were brutal. This is the guy asking for donations? Did anyone actually research who they were giving money to? I want my donation back. Fake tow truck call on a pregnant woman and now he's some kind of environmental hero? Gross. The video had been stitched and reshared hundreds of times. People were tagging the Green Transportation Initiative, tagging the city council, tagging local news stations. I called Patricia. She answered on the first ring. "Please tell me you have an explanation for this video. It's from the original incident, the one I told you about, the one that led to my volunteer hours. You told me you had a conflict over a charging spot. You didn't tell me you lied to a pregnant woman and sent her to the hospital." I told Garrett all of it. He knows the whole story. We worked through it. Well, now everyone knows the story and they're pissed. The city council is getting calls demanding they reverse their decision. People are asking for refunds on their gala tickets. Someone started a petition to remove you from the initiative. What do you want me to do? I don't know yet. I'm meeting with our board this afternoon. Stay away from social media. Don't comment on anything. I'll call you when I have more information. She hung up. I sat on my couch staring at my phone as more notifications rolled in. Someone had found my crowdfunding video and posted it with commentary about how I was manipulating people. Someone else had found my Facebook profile and was sharing my personal information. Garrett called around 10. "Vanessa's getting harassed," he said. "People are DMing her asking why she's friends with someone who traumatized her, asking if the whole thing was staged for publicity. I'm so sorry. This is exactly what I was afraid of when that guy filmed us. He sat on this video for 6 months waiting for the perfect moment to release it. This was calculated. Can we get it taken down? On what grounds? It's his video. He filmed it in public. He's not saying anything false, just providing context that makes you look bad. It does make me look bad, because I did something bad. You also spent 6 months making up for it. That should count for something." Apparently, it doesn't. Local news picked up the story by afternoon. One station sent a reporter to the yoga studio to interview Vanessa. She declined. They interviewed random yoga students instead, asking if they felt safe knowing the campaign volunteer had targeted their teacher. Another station dug up the police report from my incident, read it on air during the 5 o'clock news, made it sound like I was some kind of serial harasser. Patricia called it 6. "The board wants you to step down from the initiative. They think your presence is hurting our credibility." I understand. I pushed back. I told them about all the work you've done, but they're worried about optics. The city's already reconsidering the funding deal. If they pull out, we lose everything. Then I'll step down. I'm not going to let this destroy what we built. Are you sure? We can try to fight this. There's nothing to fight. I did what the video shows. I can't undo that. If me leaving helped save the charging stations, that's what matters. I wrote a resignation statement that night, posted it on the campaign page before anyone could tell me not to. 6 months ago, I made a serious mistake. I lied about an emergency situation and caused real harm to real people. I took full responsibility then, and I take full responsibility now. I've spent the past 6 months working to make amends and to support electric vehicle infrastructure in our city, but I understand that my past actions have become a distraction from this important work. Effective immediately, I'm stepping down from all involvement with the Green Transportation Initiative. I hope the community will continue to support this crucial environmental program. The statement got picked up by the news, got shared on social media. The comments were mixed. Some people said I was taking accountability. Others said I was just trying to save face. A few said I should face criminal charges. Garrett texted me around midnight. "Vanessa wants to release a statement supporting you. I think we should stay out of it. Tell her thank you, but I agree with you. This needs to die down. Any involvement from you two will just feed it." The next few days were hell. I took sick leave from both my jobs because I couldn't handle being in public. Stayed in my apartment with the blinds closed, watching the internet dissect my character. Someone found my name and address, posted it online. I started getting threatening messages. Most were just angry rants about what a terrible person I was. A few were genuinely scary. Detailed descriptions of violence, threats against my safety. I filed a police report. The officer who took my statement looked at me with barely concealed contempt. "You're the charging station guy." "Yes. Seems like you brought this on yourself." "I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for help with credible threats. We'll look into it." They never did. Henrik Larsson called me a week after the video went viral. "I saw what happened," he said. "The internet can be cruel. I deserve most of it. Maybe. But I watched your apology video and I read your resignation statement. You seem genuinely remorseful. That matters to me. Thank you." I appreciate that. The reason I'm calling is to let you know my donation stands. If the city or the initiative tries to return it, tell them I specifically want it used for the charging stations. Your involvement or lack of involvement doesn't change my support for the cause. That's very kind. It's not kindness. It's logic. Good projects shouldn't fail because of one person's past mistakes, especially when that person has tried to make amends. After he hung up, I cried for the first time since the whole thing started. Not sad crying, just release. Someone who didn't know me, who had no reason to give me grace, had chosen to anyway. The news cycle moved on after 2 weeks. Something else became the outrage of the moment. The threatening messages slowed down. The comment sections on articles about me got quieter. Patricia called to check on me. The city confirmed the funding is secure. Henrik's donation was the deciding factor. Without him, they would have backed out. That's good. I'm sorry about how the board handled this. Some of us wanted to stand by you. You made the right call. The initiative is bigger than me. Still, you did good work. That shouldn't be erased. But it was erased. The campaign website was scrubbed of any mention of my involvement. The volunteer roster was updated without my name. News articles about the charging station victory mentioned Patricia and Garrett, but not me. I became a footnote, the guy who helped but couldn't be acknowledged because his presence was too complicated. I went back to work after 3 weeks. My coworkers were weird around me. Nobody directly mentioned the video, but I could feel them watching me, judging, deciding if I was a person who deserved forgiveness or permanent exile. My manager called me into her office at the end of my first week back. I need to ask you about something, she said. We've been getting calls, people saying they won't do business with a company that employs you. It's affecting our relationships with clients. How many calls? 7 so far, all from the same type of person. Very angry, very certain about your character. I can find another job if that makes it easier. I'm not asking you to quit, but I am asking you to keep a low profile. No client-facing work for a while. Just back office stuff. I got demoted without technically being demoted. My hours got cut. My responsibilities shrank. I went from doing interesting project work to data entry and filing. The financial hit was immediate. I'd already been stretched thin paying off Vanessa's hospital bill. Reduced hours meant I couldn't keep up with my rent. I borrowed money from my aunt. Sold my dad's vinyl collection that I'd been saving for sentimental reasons. Picked up delivery driving on weekends. 2 months after the video went viral, I got an eviction notice. I was 3 weeks behind on rent. The building manager said I could catch up or leave by the end of the month. I didn't have the money to catch up. I called Garrett in desperation. We hadn't talked since I'd resigned from the initiative. I don't know what you want me to say, he said. His voice was flat. You're dealing with consequences. I know. I'm not asking you to fix anything. I don't know. I thought maybe you'd understand. I do understand. But understanding doesn't change reality. You made a choice 6 months ago. Then you made another choice to lie about who you really were, to a bunch of people. Now you're surprised they're mad? I didn't lie, I just didn't tell the whole story. That's lying by omission. You let people believe you were this wholesome guy who just wanted to help the environment. You didn't mention that you caused my wife to go into preterm labor. Because I was trying to move past it, because I thought I'd done enough to make up for it. You don't get to decide when you've done enough. The people you hurt decide that. He hung up. I sat in my apartment looking at my eviction notice and my bank account balance and my uncertain future. Everything I'd built over 6 months had collapsed in 2 weeks because someone decided to weaponize my worst moment. The fair thing would have been to acknowledge I'd done something wrong, acknowledge I'd tried to make amends, and let people decide for themselves if that was enough. Instead, I got turned into a villain. A cautionary tale. The bad guy in someone else's story about social justice. I packed my apartment over 3 days. I didn't have much. Most of my furniture came with the place. I filled my car with clothes, toiletries, important documents, and the few sentimental items I couldn't bear to part with. My aunt lived 2 hours away and offered me her guest room temporarily. It felt like failure. Like I was 34 years old starting over because of a parking spot. On my last day in the apartment, I drove to the charging station by the yoga studio one more time. All 3 spots were empty. I plugged in my car even though the battery was at 60%, just to use the infrastructure I'd helped save. While my car charged, I walked into the yoga studio. Vanessa was at the desk. She looked up when the door chimed, and I saw her face change when she recognized me. You can't be here, she said. I know. I'm leaving town today. I just wanted to say goodbye. Garrett told me you called him. Yeah, he's processing a lot. The video brought everything back. He's been having nightmares about finding me in the hospital again. I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I know you didn't. But intent doesn't erase impact. That's what I teach in here. Every action creates ripples. You can't control where those ripples go. So what am I supposed to do? Just accept that one mistake defines my entire life? No. You're supposed to keep living and keep trying to be better. But you don't get to control how other people remember you. Some people will only ever see you as the guy from the video. That's their right. Even though I spent 6 months trying to fix things, even then. Derek started crying from somewhere in the back room. Vanessa glanced that direction, then back at me. I need to get him. But before you go, I want to tell you something. What you did was wrong. What happened to you afterwards was also wrong. Two things can be true. You didn't deserve to lose your home and your job over a mistake you tried to make right. But that's the world we live in now. Public shame without proportion. You got caught in that machine. Is there a way out? Time. Distance. Building a life somewhere. People don't know the story. It's not fair, but it's real. She disappeared into the back room. I stood there for another minute, listening to her quiet voice soothing Derek. Then I left. My car was at 96% charge. I unplugged and drove to my aunt's house, watching the city disappear in my rearview mirror. The guest room was small and painted pale yellow. My aunt had put fresh flowers on the dresser and stocked the closet with extra hangers. She hugged me when I arrived and didn't ask questions about why I was there. Stay as long as you need, she said. Figure things out. I spent the first week sleeping 12 hours a day and avoiding the internet. My aunt worked as a nurse, so the house was empty most days. I'd wake up around noon, eat something from her refrigerator, and sit in the backyard watching birds. No phone calls, no emails, no social media, just silence. By the second week, I started looking for jobs. Applied to everything I was qualified for in my aunt's town. Entry-level stuff, warehouse work, administrative assistant positions. Nothing that required customer interaction. I got 3 interviews. One employer clearly recognized my name and ended the meeting after 5 minutes. Another asked directly about the video, and I watched their expression change when I admitted it was me. The third interview went well until they said they'd be checking references, and I knew I was screwed. Nobody wanted to hire the guy from that video. My aunt didn't push, but I could see her worrying. She'd leave job listings on the kitchen table, ask casual questions about my plans, remind me about her friend who knew someone at a factory. I applied to the factory. They hired me to work night shift loading trucks. 8 hours of heavy lifting in a cold warehouse for $12 an hour. It was the best offer I got. The work was mind-numbing. Show up at 11 p.m., load boxes until 7 a.m., go home and sleep. No coworkers to chat with because everyone wore headphones. No complexity or meaning. Just boxes and trucks and time passing slowly. I lasted 3 months before I couldn't take it anymore. The money barely covered my contribution to my aunt's grocery bill. I was living in her house, using her utilities, eating her food, and I couldn't even pay my own way. I started delivering food again on my days off. DoorDash and Uber Eats, driving around unfamiliar neighborhoods, dropping off meals to strangers. The algorithm didn't care about viral videos. It just cared if I showed up on time and didn't steal anyone's fries. Between the factory and the delivery driving, I managed to save $2,000 over 4 months. Enough for first and last month's rent somewhere cheap. Enough to get out of my aunt's guest room and stop feeling like a burden. I found a studio apartment in a building that didn't run background checks beyond criminal records. $500 a month for 400 square feet with a window that looked at a brick wall. The shower barely worked. The heater made concerning noises. But it was mine. Moving in felt like the smallest possible victory. I had a place to live, a job, a car that ran. I was surviving, even if I wasn't living. On my first night in the new apartment, I got a message on LinkedIn from Henrik Larsson. I've been thinking about you. How are you managing? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. I'm okay. Working a factory job, living in a new town, starting over. That must be difficult. It's what I have. Would you be interested in coffee sometime? I'm in Riverside, about an hour from where I think you are now. I'd like to hear how you're doing. We met the following Saturday at a cafe near his house. Henrik was tall and thin with white hair and careful movements. He ordered espresso and asked about my life with genuine interest. I told him everything. The video, the backlash, losing my apartment, the factory job. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. The internet forgets eventually, but the impact stays with the person. That's the unfair part. Do you regret donating? Knowing what you know now? Not at all. I donated to save charging stations, not to absolve you of guilt. 2 separate things. Everyone else conflated them. Everyone else was looking for a villain. You were convenient. We talked for 2 hours. He told me about his career as an engineer, his retirement, his frustration with climate change deniers and people who blocked progress. He told me about his daughter who lived in Oslo and called every Sunday. You remind me of her, he said. She made a serious mistake when she was younger. Drove drunk and hit a parked car. Nobody was hurt, but she faced consequences. Lost her license, paid fines, did community service. She thought her life was over. Now she's a civil engineer working on sustainable housing projects. What changed? Time, new location, chance to rebuild without everyone knowing her story. Plus, she did the work to become someone different. You're doing that work too. Doesn't feel like it. Loading trucks in a warehouse at night after being publicly destroyed online? That's humility. That's survival. Those are prerequisites for growth. After coffee, he walked me to my car. Looked at my blue Prius with its scratched paint and worn tires. Your car needs work. I know, can't afford it right now. I have a mechanic I trust. Send me a list of what needs fixing. I'll take care of it. You don't need to do that. I'm 72 and wealthy and have no grandchildren to spoil. Let me do this. 2 weeks later, my car had new brakes, new tires, and an oil change. Henrik refused to tell me what it cost. When I tried to insist on paying him back eventually, he said, spend that energy on building a better future instead. We started meeting for coffee every few weeks. He became something like a mentor, not in a formal way, just someone who'd lived long enough to have perspective on failure and recovery. "You're rebuilding," he said one Saturday. "That's worth respecting." I wanted to believe him, but mostly I felt stuck. Working a job I hated, living alone in a depressing apartment, no clear path forward. The charging station campaign had given me purpose for 6 months. Now I was back to just surviving. Then Patricia called. "I know we haven't talked in a while," she said, "but I thought you'd want to know. The initiative is expanding. We got approval for 30 new charging stations. We're becoming a model for other cities." "That's great." "It is. And it happened because of the work we did, including the work you did. I'm glad it worked out. How are you?" "I'm okay, working, living." "I heard you moved." "Yeah. Fresh start and all that." There was a long pause. "I'm sorry about how everything went down." The board panicked. "I should have fought harder for you. You made the right call. The initiative needed protection. Still, you deserved better." After she hung up, I sat in my apartment thinking about the 30 new charging stations. Infrastructure I'd helped lay groundwork for. Work that mattered even if I couldn't take credit for it. Maybe that was enough. Maybe impact didn't require recognition. Maybe doing the right thing sometimes meant accepting you'd never get to be the hero in the story. My phone buzzed. A text from Garrett. "Vanessa wanted me to reach out. She thinks we should talk." I stared at the message for 5 minutes before responding. "About what?" "About moving forward. About closure? I don't know. She thinks it would be good for everyone. I'm not sure that's a good idea." "Me neither. But she's persistent. Can I call you?" "Yeah." He called immediately. "So this is awkward." "Very. Vanessa feels bad about how things ended. She thinks we were too harsh on you when the video came out. She wants to meet and clear the air. I don't think I'm ready for that." "I'm not either. But she's been bringing it up for weeks. She says holding on to anger is bad for her chakras or whatever." "How do you feel about it?" He was quiet for a long time. "Honestly, I'm still mad. Not about the original incident anymore. We worked through that. But about you not being upfront with the initiative. About letting us bring you into our lives without telling us the full story. I thought I had told the full story. I didn't hide anything from you. But you hid it from Patricia. From the other volunteers. You let them think you were just some helpful guy who cared about the environment. I was that guy. I am that guy. The parking lot incident doesn't define everything about me. It does when it goes viral. So what do you want from me? You want me to apologize again? You want me to keep paying for one mistake forever? I want you to understand why I'm still angry. You put us in an impossible position. We had to choose between supporting you and protecting the initiative. That wasn't fair to anyone. You're right. It wasn't fair. And I'm sorry. But I can't go back and change how I handled it." Another long pause. "Vanessa wants to meet at the yoga studio. This Saturday at 2. She says just to talk. No pressure, no expectations. Will you come?" "I don't know. Think about it. Let me know." I didn't sleep well that week. Kept playing out scenarios in my head. What would I say to them? What did they want to hear? Was this about closure or something else? Saturday came. I drove the hour back to my old city, parked across from the yoga studio, and sat in my car for 10 minutes, trying to decide if I should go in. Finally, I walked through the door. Vanessa was waiting in the main studio room. Garrett sat on one of the yoga mats with Derek in his lap. The baby was bigger now, almost 9 months old. He stared at me with huge eyes. "You came," Vanessa said. "I almost didn't." "I'm glad you did. Sit." I sat on a mat across from them. The studio was empty except for us. Quiet in a way that made every word feel significant. "I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness," Vanessa said. "About what it means and who it's for. I teach people to let go of things that don't serve them. But I've been holding on to anger about the viral video and what happened to you and how it affected us. That anger isn't serving anyone. So you forgive me?" "I'm working on it. Forgiveness is a practice, not a destination." Garrett shifted Derek to his other knee. "I'm not there yet. I want to be. But I keep thinking about how you could have been honest from the start. How different things might have been. Maybe they wouldn't have been different at all. Maybe I still would have gotten crucified once that video came out. Maybe. But at least we would have known who we were defending. You weren't defending me. You were defending the work. That's different." Vanessa nodded slowly. "He's right about that. The work mattered more than any individual person." We sat there in uncomfortable silence. Derek babbled and grabbed at Garrett's shirt. Finally, I said, "Why did you want me here? What's the point of this?" "The point is that we're all connected to each other through this weird thing that happened," Vanessa said. "And I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what happened to you or feeling guilty about not speaking up when people attacked you. I want to close this chapter cleanly." How do we do that? By being honest. By saying the hard things. By not pretending everything is okay when it's not. Okay, then I'll be honest. I think what happened to me was disproportionate to what I did. I think internet mob justice is cruel and destructive. I think I deserved accountability but not destruction. "I agree," Vanessa said. Garrett looked at her. "You do?" "Yes. What he did was wrong. What happened to him afterwards was also wrong. Both things are true. So what do we do with that? We acknowledge it. We try to be better when we see it happening to someone else. We move forward. We talked for another hour. It wasn't easy or comfortable. There were long silences and tense moments. Garrett asked questions I didn't have good answers to. I asked questions they couldn't fully answer. But by the end, something felt different. Not resolved exactly. Not forgiven completely, but less heavy. When I left, Vanessa hugged me. Garrett shook my hand. Derek waved, which probably wasn't intentional but felt meaningful anyway. Take care of yourself, Vanessa said. And if you ever want to come back to the city, you've got people here who remember the whole story, not just the video. I drove home thinking about what that meant. People who remembered the whole story, the mistake and the amends, the intention and the impact. All of it together instead of just the worst parts. Maybe that was enough to build on. I kept working at the factory, kept doing delivery driving, kept saving money. Henrik and I kept meeting for coffee. Patricia sent occasional updates about the charging initiative. Life moved forward slowly and without drama, which after everything that happened, felt like a gift. 6 months after meeting with Vanessa and Garrett, I got a message from an unfamiliar email address. The subject line said, "Job opportunity, environmental nonprofit." I almost deleted it as spam, but something made me open it. Hello, my name is Dr. Sarah Chen, and I run a nonprofit focused on sustainable transportation infrastructure. I came across your story through my work researching EV charging accessibility. I was impressed by your volunteer work with the Green Transportation Initiative, and I'd like to discuss a potential position with our organization. Would you be available for a phone call? I read the email 3 times looking for the catch. There had to be a catch. I responded, asking for more information. Dr. Chen called me the next day. "I'll be direct," she said. "I know about the video. I know about the controversy. I also know that you spent 6 months doing real work to address a legitimate infrastructure problem. I'm more interested in that than in your worst moment. Most employers don't see it that way. Most employers are looking for reasons to exclude people. I'm looking for people who understand that change is hard and requires showing up even when it's uncomfortable. You've demonstrated both." She explained the position. Outreach coordinator for a sustainable transportation project in 3 small cities. I'd be working with local governments, utility companies, and community organizations to implement EV charging infrastructure. Basically what you were doing as a volunteer, but as an actual job with a salary. $45,000 a year to start. Health insurance. The work is real and meaningful. Why me? Because you have experience. Because you understand the complications of this work. Because everyone else I've interviewed talks about caring about the environment, but you've actually done the work. What about the video? What about it? You did something stupid, faced consequences, tried to make amends, and got destroyed disproportionately by internet mob justice. That tells me you're human, and you've experienced real accountability. Both useful qualities. I took the job. Started 3 weeks later in an office above a coffee shop in a town I'd never heard of. The work was exactly what Dr. Chen described. Meetings with city officials, presentations to community groups, site surveys and feasibility studies. It was the charging station campaign, but bigger and better organized. And this time I wasn't hiding any part of my story. Dr. Chen introduced me to partners and stakeholders the same way every time. This is our outreach coordinator. He has direct experience with the challenges of implementing public charging infrastructure. Ask him anything. Some people knew about the video. Most didn't. The ones who did either didn't care or appreciated that I was upfront about it. For the first time in over a year, I wasn't defined by my worst mistake. I moved to a better apartment, started sleeping through the night, made friends with coworkers who knew me as someone competent and reliable. Life became normal again. The kind of normal I'd taken for granted before everything fell apart. Henrik visited my new office 6 months after I started. We had lunch at the coffee shop downstairs. "You look different," he said. Lighter somehow. "I feel different, like I'm finally past it. Not past it, through it. That's better. Thank you for believing in me when nobody else did. Someone believed in me once when I needed it. I'm just passing that forward. Someday you'll do the same for someone else." On the 1-year anniversary of starting my new job, I got a package at the office. Inside was a framed photograph of a charging station with a small plaque that read, "Infrastructure serves everyone. Build it anyway." There was a note from Vanessa and Garrett. "Congratulations on your new work. We're proud of who you've become." I hung the photograph in my office where I could see it every day. A reminder of where I'd been and how far I'd come. The video still exists online. Sometimes people find it and recognize me. But now when they ask about it, I tell them the whole story. The mistake, the consequences, the rebuilding. I don't hide from it or try to justify it. It's just part of my history. One difficult morning that led to 6 months of volunteer work that led to a city keeping its charging infrastructure, that led to a viral video, that led to losing everything, that led to starting over, that led to this job, that led to helping build sustainable transportation systems in small cities. The narrative isn't neat. It doesn't have a moral. It doesn't end with everyone hugging and learning lessons. It ends with me doing work that matters, living in an apartment I can afford, and occasionally having coffee with a 72-year-old man who gave me $24,000 and, more importantly, gave me grace. Some stories are about redemption. This one is about surviving long enough to find out who you are after everything falls apart, and building whatever comes next with the pieces that remain.